Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening. I am Dr. Randall Gates, board certified chiropractic neurologist, also a chiropractic physician at Gates Brain Health. And tonight I'm talking about barometric changes and neurological function. For those of you on Facebook, again, I'm Dr. Randall Gates, board certified chiropractic neurologist and chiropractic physician at Gates Brain Health. So this is a topic that I think may pertain to a lot of people. In essence, probably all of you have realized it. Most doctors have realized that when there are changes in barometric pressure, people inevitably will say, you know, I can feel it coming. I can feel a storm coming because my knee will hurt. Or I can always tell when the weather's going to change because my lower back hurts. Or I know a storm system's coming in because I get a horrible headache. Even changes with depression have been documented in the literature. So I will go through what I found. It's not an extensive amount of information, but I scoured the literature on this subject to try and give you some meat and potatoes. And maybe for the headache sufferers, I'll have something of substance to offer you. So yeah, definitely I will talk about migraines. So basically, that's the meat and potatoes article. In essence, when it comes to headaches, most journal articles agree that there is an association between drops in barometric pressure and the increased frequency and severity of headaches. They've seen more people admitted to the emergency room for severe headaches during times of low barometric pressure. Most studies agree on this. One study out of North Carolina basically looked at tropical storms versus more polar storms. They found that tropical storms that were more humid and dry seemed to create more headaches than the polar storms, so to speak. But that's the one outlier of a study that I found on this subject, whereas most studies agree that it seems to be a drop in barometric pressure. And what happens when that occurs? So when barometric pressure goes down, in essence, there is less pressure on our tissues pushing in on us. And when that occurs, our tissues can expand. And it's thought that that expansion of tissues has something to do with arthritis pain and becoming exacerbated because now the tissues are expanding, particularly for like something like an arthritic knee, or they've looked at this thing called vacuum phenomena for lumbar spinal discs, which are basically where your disc is so degenerated. You have this sign on an x-ray called a vacuum phenomenon. It's just like this little tiny blip of space in the disc that seems to not have much cartilage in it. And so potentially when you have low barometric pressure, now that vacuum disc phenomenon is going to expand, and that can irritate your nociceptors. I think the whole element of barometric changes and increased pain, which is a neurological function, is very interesting, and it illustrates that we have nociception going on all the time in our bodies feeding into our brain. And nociception is different from pain. What is nociception? Nociception refers to these pre-painful signals, so to speak. It's only pain once it gets to your brain. You actually have a lot of painful signals coming into your nervous system, which are being filtered in your spinal cord. They're being filtered literally in your brainstem. A lot of them end at the top of your brainstem before they even get to your brain. In fact, I believe it's something like 25% of these pre-pain fibers actually reach your brain. So when we have something like a change in barometric pressure, it's interesting that maybe that event can be enough to stimulate more nociceptors to reach an event to where you start to feel your knee or your lower back or your head in a different way than before. Ear, nose, and throat doctors have studied sinus headaches because sinus headaches typically are sensitive to changes in barometric pressure. And they inflated a balloon basically in their sinuses, trying to mimic some changes in pressure in the sinuses, and they found that basically that didn't irritate their sinus headaches. So it seems like it's something else. The best article I can give you comes from rats. Let me see here. It's from The journal Headache in 2010, increases in neuronal activity in rats' spinal trigeminal nucleus following changes in barometric pressure. Relevance for weather-associated headaches, question mark. So what they did, and I commonly say I don't cite studies on mice or rats too often because I like to look more at the human studies, but sometimes rats give us a window into understanding what's going on basically within the nervous system that we can't just quite figure out in humans. And so what they did with these rats is that they opened up parts of their brain during changes in barometric pressure. They opened up parts of their dura mater, which is that layer of protection, so to speak, over the brain. And what they found was, the main thing they found was that the caudal trigeminal nucleus, or the spinal trigeminal nucleus, which is most involved with the sensation of head pain. Go back and watch my head pain talk. But basically, all pain from your head goes down through your brainstem, down into the top part of your cervical spinal cord, crosses over, and then goes up, and then is going to be perceived as pain once it reaches the neocortex. But what they found is that irritation of the cornea was the main factor with drops in barometric pressure that ignited activation of the spinal trigeminal nucleus down here, lower brainstem extending down into the cervical spinal cord. It was the drop in barometric pressure irritating the cornea was the main factor that caused the spinal trigeminal nucleus to fire off. So that's really interesting because I would not have guessed that. I think most people would not guess that. They're thinking something in the barometric pressure is affecting the neck joints, and maybe it is, or something to do with the pressure in the brain with the cerebrospinal fluid. That's not what they found. They found that it was the cornea. So I don't know. I don't know if that means we're swimming goggles when we have low barometric pressure. I'm not sure, and I'm not suggesting that. But anyways, it's intriguing. And then within the realm of depression, certainly depression is seen to go up with changes in barometric pressure. The number of people admitted to the emergency room for depression and schizotypal disorder, or schizoaffective disorder, excuse me, and schizophrenia and bipolar disorder definitely go up with changes in weather, definitely go up, a lot of them with dusty, windy situations. So we are very susceptible to our environment. No explanations could I find as to why depression goes up, but it is associated with changes in barometric pressure. And there are mice studies independent of weather, because a lot of you would be thinking, the seasonal affective disorder when it's gray and cloudy out. They've done studies on mice in controlled environments where they control for seasonal affective, and basically they found that drops in barometric pressure cause the mice to have more depressive and anxiety producing behaviors. So that's what we know. So basically I can give you an answer on headaches. I can kind of give you an answer on joint pain. I can't give you an answer as much on depression, except that the association definitely seems real. So let me look at some comments. Hello to everyone who joined. I'm glad you're all liking the late evening broadcast. It's kind of like the late news channel, just joking. So what you're saying is that grandma and grandpa may have been correct when they started getting aches and pains when the weather changed. So well, that's very true. In fact, it is absolutely true. Yeah. And those of us who live in northern Nevada, it gets cold and we get a lot of low pressure systems rolling through here. So I think that's it. Everyone have a great Thursday night. I may be back tomorrow with another broadcast. We'll see if I can get it done in time. Okay, have a good night. Bye-bye. Oh, and yeah, thank you everyone for the well wishes. Okay, all right, I'll sign off now.